This film is dedicated to the amazing Nyla Jean Storing. If I have learned anything from Chris Freeman's Projection of Global Culture class, it has been how to apply his teachings on an anthropological film to my everyday life. He has really opened my eyes and taught me to make the familiar unfamiliar again. Construct has been a powerful topic in the various films we've watched for his class. Taking a camera and going global to film cultures around the world can bring people together. Films as a medium offers a new way to introduce cultural variance into our society. But there needs to be a genuine film, preferably by the people themselves, to avoid deconstructing the culture itself, which is understood by Merleau-Ponty. It was Robert Flaherty's Nanook of the North. It is an example of a constructed film that displaced a culture and never allowed the people to speak for themselves. On the contrary, Vertov sets a really good example on how to film genuine people in their natural way. He may not have a lot of Russian speaking in his film for themselves per se, but the scene that I always remember most was the one where the woman woke up from her night's sleep on the bench and, to her surprise, waking up to Vertov filming her, and you could just tell the concern on her face and how she gets up and walks away. It's a true depiction of the life in Russia. Another important topic I have learned to apply to my own life is the practice of looking. Again, the idea of making the familiar unfamiliar. I have been actively looking at everything differently and questioning everything too. Coco Fusco and Paula Herdin do something very familiar in their film, The Couple in the Cage. They predicted how people would look at them as animals to be caged up, but by the end, when they would leave a show with the collars around the ones who were thought to be the people in charge, they were able to change the way that people saw them. This was not apparent in Dennis O'Rourke's Cannibal Tours. He captured the ways in which Western society looks down on Aboriginal people, but he does not make a goal of his to point out the problem that these tourists are creating. It is not a learning opportunity for him, but we as viewers do learn what he is trying to share with us, and that we shouldn't view people as different, though their cultural practices may not be the same. My personal favorite topic so far from this class to learn is the practice of describing, and I have noticed more and more every day how much everything is over-described and justified, so much so to the point that subjects are over-explained and the nature of the subject is ruined. In Ron Frick's film, Baraka, there's no explanation or description at all, offering the viewers the chance to reflect upon what they are seeing and truly think about its concept. Margaret Mead did the opposite. She spoke for the women in Bathing a Baby in 3 different cultures, when she could have instead had the women explain the process to Margaret Mead, and she could have bathed the babies herself, which Barthes really understood the importance of one doing it for themselves and acknowledging it through the culture itself. Another great example is how description can hinder the authenticity of a film, is the one that we watched in class, Happy People, A Year in the Taiga. And the moment that really sticks out for me is when the veteran of the war gets so emotional from sharing his memories from these days that he just couldn't continue. But the narration says all of that to the viewers when in reality, anyone could see the pain and emotion on his face, and the description was unnecessary, and it honestly killed the moment, actually. And by taking away its aura and just that natural emotion, which Benjamin taught us to savor, it completely took away from what we were watching. The hardest lesson that has recently applied to my life is remembering the ineffable and the indescribable memory. My good friend Nyla has just passed away, and I've tried to describe her, but I just well up in tears every time, and There are no words to describe my love for that woman and all she has taught me, and the same can be said for The Night and Fog and Black Rain. I mean, there's just both of these movies cover an historical event that has caused a lot of pain and suffering. There have been many attempts to share these memories with the world, but these two films share the Holocaust and the dropping of the atomic bomb in a new way that remembers these events for what they were and what they still are, which is a hard thing to do. For me, these reflections share the true understanding of what I have learned in this class, whereas if I was to write a paper, it would be constructed and probably bullshitted just a bit. These videos may not share everything, but they're a good start. By making our own films, to me, I've just come to understand how other films have manipulated reality, but many understand it as truth. This concept of ekphrasis highlights the ways which we think we understand what we are watching with light and sound, but we don't understand it at all. Through the different films, we have learned how to watch films and critically view its content. This creation of intersemiotic transposition allows us, as a viewer, to construct a meaning for ourselves, rather than expecting an anthropological description that may or may not share the truth. To remember a film is only shards and fractals of reality is essential. There will never be an absolute truth shared through film. This can only be done by personal experience, in my opinion. But ethnographic film is creating a dialogue that shares these understandings with a larger audience.